I never imagined I'd end up writing something like this. Not because I'm innocent, but because putting it all into words means facing the kind of man I've become. And I'm not sure I'm ready for that. But here I am. My name doesn't matter. My age doesn't matter either. What matters is that I had everything a man could possibly ask for. A wife who adored me, a good job, a comfortable home, and friends who envied my perfect life. And yet, I was the one who kept tearing it all apart piece by piece. 4 years, I cheated on my wife. Not once, not twice. I lost count somewhere along the way. At first, it started with small, stupid things. Flirting at work, texting a woman from the gym a little too often, meeting up with a friend's cousin for a drink. I told myself it was harmless, that it didn't mean anything. But that's how it begins, right? You tell yourself lies long enough until you start believing them. My wife, Emma, trusted me completely. She never questioned where I was or who I was with. She'd smile when I came home late and say, "Rough day at work." And I'd just kiss her forehead, pretending to be exhausted, while my shirt still smelled faintly of another woman's perfume. I knew it was wrong. God, I knew. But every time I promised myself I'd stop, something inside me would itch, a voice whispering that I deserved excitement, that I wasn't really doing any harm as long as Emma never found out. That's how self-destruct hides, behind comfort, justification, and ego. It went on 4 years. Different women, different lies, but the same pattern. And the scariest part, I got good at it. I became an expert in covering my tracks, deleting messages, setting reminders to erase call logs, even using a separate SIM card for a while. It wasn't passion anymore. It was control. A dark, twisted kind of power that made me feel alive. Then, a few months ago, something shifted. One night, my best friend Mark called me. His voice was uneasy, hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he should say what he was about to say. "Hey, man," he started. "I don't know how to tell you this, but I think I saw Emma today, at the Grandview Hotel." I laughed at first. "Emma? No way. She's at work. Probably someone else." But he sounded serious. "She wasn't alone, dude. There was a guy with her. They were sitting close. I didn't want to assume, but it didn't look innocent. That night I couldn't sleep, not because I thought Emma was cheating, but because, for the first time, I felt the sting of my own medicine. What if she really was? Would I even have the right to be angry? The next day, I couldn't focus at work. My mind kept circling the same thought. Maybe she knows. Maybe she found out about me, and this is her revenge. I tried to act normal at home. Emma was calm, cheerful, like always. She cooked dinner, asked about my day, told me about some new project she was working on. There wasn't a hint of guilt in her face. That only made me more suspicious. I started watching her, checking her phone when she showered, tracking her location through shared apps. Every time she left the house, my heart raced, not from love, but from paranoia. It's ironic, isn't it? The cheater becoming the detective. But here's what I didn't realize back then. The deeper I dug into her life, the more I uncovered about myself. One night, while scrolling through her messages, I saw a name that made me pause. Leela, Emma's younger sister. They texted almost every day, but recently their chats had become shorter, colder. A few okays, thanks, and we'll talk later. It didn't feel normal. I thought maybe they had fought. Sisters do that sometimes. But something about it felt off. The next weekend, Leela came over for dinner. She was younger, funnier, more reckless than Emma. The type of girl who could walk into any room and instantly become the center of it. She and Emma had always been close. At least, that's what I thought. When she hugged me hello, she held on just a little too long. Not enough for Emma to notice, but enough for me to feel it. That spark, that danger I could never resist. And right then, I knew something inside me had already crossed another invisible line. At this point, I was juggling my paranoia about Emma's supposed affair with my own growing temptation. toward her sister. It was chaos. Emotional, mental, moral chaos. But I couldn't stop. The more I suspected Emma, the more I justified my own sins. If she's doing it too, I told myself, then we're even. But she wasn't. I didn't know it then. But Emma was just being Emma. Loyal, kind, patient. The only one in this story who hadn't done anything wrong. The guilt started to eat at me slowly, quietly. Until that night, when everything started to spiral for real. It was a Friday. Emma said she'd be working late. And I did what I always did when she wasn't around. I called someone else. Only this time, the person who showed up at my door wasn't a stranger. It was Leela. She smiled like she already knew what would happen next. And for the first time in my life, I didn't even try to stop it. When Leela showed up at my door that night, I didn't even ask why she came. She just smiled. That kind of half-smile people wear when they already know they're crossing a line. It was like we both understood what was about to happen, even if neither of us said it out loud. She told me Emma had asked her to drop off a few things. A sweater, some papers, a charger. Harmless things. But the way she lingered, the way her eyes wandered around my living room. It wasn't a quick visit. I poured her a glass of wine. Maybe that was the mistake. Or maybe the mistake happened long before that, years ago. The first time I decided a secret was easier than honesty. We talked about nothing at first. Work. Family. How Emma was always the responsible one. Leela laughed and said, "You married the good sister." And for a moment, I couldn't tell if it was a joke or a confession. The air between us felt charged. Not romantic, not warm, just dangerous. The kind of silence that makes your heart beat too loud. Then, before I even realized what I was doing, I leaned in and kissed her. She didn't pull away. That single moment, that one impulsive, selfish act, shattered everything that was left of my conscience. I don't even remember what I said afterward. Something meaningless. Some pathetic excuse to make it sound like it just happened. But deep down, I knew the truth. It didn't just happen. I had been walking toward that moment for years. Every lie, every secret, every betrayal was leading me there. The next morning, I woke up with a hollow feeling in my chest. Not guilt, not yet, just emptiness. I expected to feel thrill, or at least fear, but instead there was nothing. Like my emotions had burned out completely. Leela left early. She didn't say much, just a quick goodbye. A glance that said we'd both pretend this never happened. But pretending is something I've always been good at. When Emma came home later that day, she hugged me like nothing was wrong. She smiled, told me about her project, kissed me on the cheek, and all I could think about was how undeserving I was of that simple gesture. She noticed I was quiet. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Lied again. Of course I did. That's what I do best. Over the next few weeks, everything became a blur. I was living two lives, one in daylight and one in darkness. During the day, I was Emma's husband. At night, I was a man consumed by guilt and addiction. I tried to tell myself that what happened with Leela was a what-I mistake, but it wasn't. She kept finding reasons to come over, to check on Emma, to pick up something she left, to ask for advice. And each time, we ended up in the same place, trapped in this web we'd spun ourselves. I didn't love her. At least, I don't think I did. What I loved was the chaos, the danger of being caught, the illusion of power. It was never about passion. It was about self-destructs. But here's the irony. While all of this was happening, I was still convinced that Emma was cheating on me. I'd convinced myself she was hiding something. Maybe because I needed her to be guilty too. It's easier to hate someone than to face the fact that you're the villain. One night, I went through her phone again. No messages, no secret numbers, no suspicious photos. Just work emails, grocery lists, texts from her sister, from Leela. I froze. One of the messages was from a few days earlier. Greater than "Hey Em, I think we need to talk soon. There's something I need to tell you." She never replied. That message hit me like a hammer to the chest. Was Leela going to confess? Was she about to tell Emma everything? For the first time, I felt real fear. Not fear of being caught. Fear of what would happen if Emma actually knew who I really was. From that moment, everything started falling apart. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. Every sound in the house made me flinch, expecting Emma to burst in with rage. But she didn't. She just kept being her usual self, calm, loving, unaware. That's what broke me the most. I started avoiding both of them. Came home late, left early, worked overtime just to stay away. But guilt doesn't fade with distance. It grows louder in silence. A few nights later, Emma found me sitting in the dark. She touched my shoulder gently and asked, "Are you sure you're okay? You've been so distant lately." And I almost told her everything. I almost confessed right there, but the words wouldn't come out. Instead, I said, "I just feel like you're hiding something from me." Her face, you'll never forget it. A mix of confusion and sadness. She whispered, "Why would I ever hide anything from you?" And in that moment, I realized she never did. It was me. It had always been me. The next day, Leela texted me, "We can't keep this up. She deserves the truth." That single message made my hands shake. I deleted it instantly, but the words burned into my mind. She deserves the truth. She always did. But I wasn't ready to face what that truth would destroy. Because once Emma knew, there would be nothing left of the man she thought she married. It happened on a Sunday, the kind of quiet day when the world feels calm, until it suddenly isn't. Emma had gone to visit her parents for the weekend, and I thought I'd finally have some time alone to think. But instead, I just paced around the house like a man waiting for his own sentence to be announced. Every shadow felt heavy. Every sound made me jump. I kept checking my phone, waiting, dreading, for a message that would destroy everything. And then it came. "We need to talk, Emma." Just 5 words, but they hit harder than any confession ever could. When she came home, she wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. That made it worse. She walked in quietly, set her bag down, and said, "Leela came by earlier." I felt my throat close. Every part of me wanted to run, to vanish, to rewind time. But there was nowhere left to hide. Emma looked at me, eyes tired, not from tears but from disappointment. She told me everything. The silence that followed was unbearable. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. Because what could I possibly say? That it was a mistake. That I didn't mean it. None of that would erase what I'd done. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just sat down, staring at her hands. Then she said something you'll never forget. "I knew you weren't faithful. I just never thought you'd destroy my family too." I wanted to defend myself. To say it wasn't planned. That I was lost. That I hated who I'd become. But even that felt selfish. Every excuse I had died on my tongue. The truth was simple. I did this. No one else. I told her everything. Every woman. Every lie. Every moment I thought I was getting away with it. And with each word, I watched her face grow colder, emptier. At one point, she whispered, "Greater than why? What did I ever do to make you hate me this much?" That broke me. Because I didn't hate her. I never did. The person I hated was myself. When she finally stood up, she didn't yell or slam the door. She just said, "Greater than I hope someday you figure out why you keep breaking the things that love you." Then she left. And this time, I knew she wasn't coming back. After she was gone, I sat there in the quiet, surrounded by everything I'd built and destroyed. The house, the photos, the memories, all of it felt hollow now. I thought about Leela. She'd texted me earlier that day too. "She deserves peace. Don't contact me again." And that was it. No dramatic goodbye. No closure. Just consequences. 4 weeks. I lived like a ghost. Work, home, sleep, repeat. No one knew what had happened. Everyone still thought I was that lucky guy with the perfect wife. But inside, I was already dead. Sometimes I scroll through old photos of Emma, her smile, her laugh, the way she used to rest her head on my shoulder, and all I can think about is how I traded real love for moments that meant nothing. If you're reading this, maybe you'll think I'm a monster, and maybe you're right, but what scares me most isn't losing Emma. It's realizing that I never valued her until she was gone. Because when you live your life surrounded by lies, the truth doesn't just hurt, it erases who you thought you were. I don't expect forgiveness, not from Emma, not from Leela, not from anyone. But I'm writing this because I need someone, anyone, to hear the truth. Because silence protects no one. And maybe, just maybe, admitting who I really am is the only honest thing I've ever done. So here I am, the man who accused his wife of cheating when he was the one destroying everything behind her back. The man who betrayed not only his marriage, but his soul. And if there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that you can hide from everyone else, but you can't hide from yourself forever. Question to the audience: if someone destroys everything they love but finally realizes it, do they still deserve a second chance?